Hi, and welcome back. In this video, we are going to look at an essential feature that makes Dime.Scheduler the flexible application that it is. With user profiles and layouts, users can create a personalized workspace that they can use to plan the way they want to plan. Almost everything you do in Dime.Scheduler is optional as long as unplanned tasks find their way to the planning board. So let's take a look. Profiles and layouts are constructs specific to Dime.Scheduler. They are two building blocks that are essential for this planning view here. Nothing is static except for the top bar and the sidebar. Everything else can be configured by the users. In a nutshell, a user profile is sort of a snapshot that captures the state of the entire planning view. A user profile dictates which components are on screen, where they are, which default component state it should display, and so on. A user-defined layout, on the other hand, refers to the state of an individual component. Each component, and we have about 11 component types, can have its own state where we'll capture information like which components you want to see, what sorters you have, what groupers you have, and which filters you have in place, etc. You can make any kind of combination between user profiles and layouts. You could, for instance, have multiple user profiles that reuse the single same instance of a particular planning board. Not only can you reuse profiles and layouts, you can also share them with your colleagues, which makes it extremely flexible. What we're seeing on screen right now is a user profile that I set up before, and I've marked it as the default profile to load when I start Dime.Scheduler. It's quite easy though to switch to another profile. I just have to go to the profile section in the menu, click the open item. That will show a modal window with all the profiles that I have available at this very moment. The user profiles can be the ones that I've made, but they can also be profiles that users have shared with me. Just double click on the profile of interest. That just opens up or refreshes better the application and will load that particular profile with the default user defined layouts. When we go back by clicking on the home button in the sidebar menu or just by removing the profile ID section in the query string, Dime.Scheduler will fall back to your default user profile. You can change the default profile by going to the profile section again in the menu, and this time click on Manage. That's where you'll have your profiles, but now this time you can switch and update the default user profile. So if I hit OK, we will update our default profile, and if I hit refresh, you'll see a different profile pop up on the screen. Let's create a new user profile. Go to the profile section in the menu, then you can either choose to create a blank profile or save a copy of the current profile you are working on. Let's go for a new blank profile. Click yes, and then we can start setting up this new blank user profile. Each component is wrapped in a dock panel. And dock panels are the secret sauce to creating these personalized workspaces. Let's say, for example, we want to see more columns of our open task list. Simply go to the edge of your dock panel, take the slider and slide it a bit to the right. Likewise for the map, if you want to see more of our map, just go to the edge of your dock panel and slide it up or down, like so. These docking panels can be stacked. So you see here, this resource filters component is displayed underneath the map, and you can switch back and forth by clicking on the tab. If you want this component to have a more prominent place on screen, just take that component and slide it somewhere on the planning view that you think makes sense. So let's put this one right below our map component. We can also remove docking panels like the details component. We may not be interested. Or if you want to remove the entire stack, just click on that X icon to the right, which will close the entire stack like so. And maybe we want to switch and move around our notifications panel so it's displayed underneath the planned task list. And let's get rid of our calendar altogether so we have more screen and more place for our planning board. Of course, you can also add components to this planning view. A typical example would be that there is an open task list per department or per business unit. What you could do there is go to the profile section in the menu, scroll down so you can see all the available components that you can add to the planning view. Let's take and drag the open task item to this list and put it next to this one right here. So we have a group of open task lists nicely next to each other. You can rename these components. So if you click on this icon right here, you can give it a descriptive name, like say other work for this list, while this tab could, for example, show all my service orders. Now we can see clearly this list will be for service orders and this list will be for all the other work or the work for a business unit, department, and anything that you think makes sense. All right, this will do for now. Let's just save this profile by going to the profile section in the menu, hit that save button, which will open up a new prompt. So you can give it a name. Let's call this service planning for this year. And I'm going to mark this as the default profile. And maybe I'll also share it with all of my colleagues in the company. Let's hit save. Then when I hit the refresh button, we'll see our new default profile will be the one that we just created. When we look at our two open tasks lists, you'll find that they are exactly the same, which is not extremely useful at all. So let's do something about that. I'm going to go to the service orders list and I'm going to add a filter to this job number column. And in my environment, I have service orders that have the prefix SVO. So I can easily add a filter that only shows the service orders. So I'm going to add the prefix followed by the asterisk. And that just shows me all of the service orders that yet have to be scheduled. Same, but different for the other work list. We want to do the exact opposite. We want to see everything except service orders. So we can use this syntax right here, everything that is not a service order, and we will see all the work that is not a service order. Next, we want to save this layout so we can reuse it and not have to execute this filter every time you start Dime.Scheduler. Hit the floppy disk icon. That will open up a new window asking you to provide information like the name and whether to mark this particular layout as the default for that component on screen. Give that a name other work. I'm going to mark it as default. That's one. And let's also save this second tab with service orders. Let's hit save. Service orders. Mark it as the default and hit save. Now, when I refresh the screen, you'll see it will load our default user profile, but also apply that layout that we've marked as the default for this tab on screen. So we'll see right away all of the items that meet this filter of SVO star, and likewise for all of our other work items that do meet this particular query. I'm also going to quickly set up our planning board because our planning board is showing way too many dates for our kind of planning that we are interested in. First of all, let's go to the settings item in the menu here because that contains a couple of options to set up the global configuration of a certain component type like the map and like our planning board. Let's set the starting date to today. So every time we start the application, it will show the planning for that particular day. And if we're planning on a daily basis, we may want to set the range to day. We can leave the snap interval as it is, and move over to the start and end time slider, which we can set to reflect our normal business hours, like so. Hit the OK button, and then we can see our planning board has been updated. Then inside each component, we can set the view, we can set the bar height and other configuration items. So we can change the view to a day, so we see our planning on an hourly basis, and perhaps we can also update the appointment height. Set a filter so we only see our service technicians and not so much our production lines, so we want to see our people. Slide this component a little bit to the left so we have more room for our timeline. First of all, we can save our profile again because these settings are captured on the user profile level. And then next I can update or create a new instance of our planning board. So we can give this a name, daily planning today, or something like that. Hit it as default. And then as you can expect, when we refresh the screen, it should show about the same information as we saw just a second ago. And there you go. Once user profiles and layouts are all set up, users typically don't change their configuration anymore. But if they want to, they can do so. For example, I could show our resource type column back in our planning board, update our layout, which we then will be reflected the next time we load this profile and that layout. Users can always load user profiles on the fly, and they can even load user-defined layouts on the fly. Any component that has this icon allows you to switch layouts for that component type. So these items here are the layouts for the component type open task list. You can load the layout, which will apply the settings for that given instance. What you can also do is update that particular default layout for this instance of the open task list. You can do that by going to the Manage option in the ribbon and then change the default layout. These can be the ones that you've made, or they can be the ones that colleagues made for you before. The only thing that you cannot do is update layouts or profiles that your colleagues made. When I hit OK and refresh my screen, you'll see that the other work list will show a different subset and a different filter set. This was a quick tour of how you can use profiles and layouts to compose your own solution. I will post some links in the description with more information on user profiles and layouts. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.